Commander Zethrak stood on the bridge of his warship, looking down at the blue planet below, Earth. That was what the humans called their home world. He felt nothing but confidence. Why would he feel anything else? The Krythax Dominion had conquered 847 star systems in the last 1,000 years. Not a single species had ever defeated them in battle. Zethrak belonged to the Varnath warrior caste. They were perfect soldiers, created through careful genetic engineering over countless generations. Each Varnath stood 7 feet tall with thick armored skin that could stop most weapons. Their bodies could heal from terrible wounds in just hours. Their reflexes were 3 times faster than any natural creature. But their greatest strength was the hive mind connection that linked every Varnath warrior together. They could share thoughts, coordinate attacks, and fight as one massive organism. No army in the galaxy could match them. The humans were different from other species the Dominion had conquered. They were weak. The scanners showed soft bodies with no natural armor or weapons. They were slow. Their reaction time was pathetic compared to Varnath warriors. They had barely left their own planet, with only a few small colonies on their moon and nearby worlds. This conquest would be easy, perhaps the easiest in Dominion history. "Begin the invasion," Zethrak ordered. His voice was calm. He had done this hundreds of times before. 10,000 Varnath warriors loaded into dropships. The plan was simple and had never failed. Therefore, overwhelming force in 5 major human cities. Show them the power of the Dominion. Accept their surrender within 2 days. The humans would see their weapons were useless and give up. Every species did. Fighting the Varnath was suicide. The dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Zethrak watched the tactical display as his warriors landed in New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, and Sao Paulo. Millions of humans lived in these cities. They would witness Varnath power firsthand. The first reports came quickly. Human military forces were engaging his warriors. Zethrak almost smiled. Good. Let them try to fight. Let them see how hopeless it was. Then they would surrender faster. But something was wrong. "Commander, Battalion 7 reports heavy resistance," an officer said. "The humans are using explosives and—" "Let them waste their ammunition," Zethrak interrupted. "Our armor can withstand their primitive weapons." "Yes, Commander, but they are not fighting like other species. They are using strange tactics. They hide in buildings and attack from unexpected angles. They use their own vehicles as bombs." Another report came in. Then another. The humans were not fighting in organized military formations. They were everywhere and nowhere. Small groups would attack, kill a few warriors, then disappear into the city. The Varnath hive mind could not predict where they would strike next. 3 battalions reported ambushes by human soldiers who fought to the death. Not because they were trapped. They chose to die if it meant killing Varnath warriors. They would hide with explosives and detonate them when warriors came close, killing themselves in the process. This made no sense to Zethrak. Every species had a survival instinct. They fought to live, not to die. But these humans seemed to have a different calculation in their minds. They traded their lives for enemy casualties without hesitation. Hours turned into days. The conquest that should have taken 48 hours was now entering its 3rd day. Zethrak stared at the casualty reports with growing disbelief. 400 Varnath warriors were dead. 400. The Dominion had lost fewer warriors in 3 centuries of conquest across multiple galaxies. Yet in 72 hours, these weak, slow, soft humans had killed 400 of the galaxy's finest soldiers. "Deploy the second wave," Zethrak commanded. His voice was no longer calm. "I want 5,000 more warriors on the ground immediately." The second wave had never been needed before, not once in his entire military career. As the reinforcements descended, Zethrak began studying the humans more carefully. He accessed the Dominion's database on Earth. What he found disturbed him. Human history was filled with war. They had fought each other for thousands of years with terrible efficiency. They had weapons designed to cause maximum suffering. They had tactics built on sacrifice and desperation. Their entire culture celebrated warriors who died in battle. The Varnath were bred for war. but humans were born for it. Zethrak realized something that chilled his engineered blood. The Dominion had conquered 847 systems, but they had never fought a species like this. Every other species fought to survive. Humans fought to win, even if winning meant dying. He looked at the tactical display showing fierce battles in all 5 cities. Human casualties were 10 times higher than Varnath losses. By any logical measure, the Dominion was winning. So why did Zethrak feel like he was the one being hunted? Down on Earth, in the ruins of burning cities, human soldiers prepared their next attacks. They knew they were outmatched in every way. They knew most of them would die, but they also knew something the Varnath had never learned. Sometimes the weaker fighter wins by refusing to lose. The war on Earth entered its 2nd week, and Zethrak could not believe what was happening. His warriors were still winning every major battle. The casualty ratio favored the Varnath 10-1. By all logic, humanity should be near collapse, but the fighting only grew worse. The humans had discovered something about the Varnath. Something terrible. The hive-mind connection that made the Varnath so powerful had a weakness. When one warrior died, the others felt it, not just knowledge of the death, but the pain, the fear, the final moments. It was a small price to pay for perfect coordination, or so the Dominion had always believed. Deaths were rare, the pain was manageable, but humans made death common, and they made it hurt. Human soldiers stopped using quick-kill weapons. Instead, they used fire, chemicals, acids that ate through Varnath armor slowly. The warriors could regenerate from most wounds, but fire prevented healing. Each burning warrior screamed through the hive-mind connection. Every nearby Varnath felt the agony as if it was their own body on fire. Then the humans did something worse. They started capturing Varnath warriors alive. The first incident happened in London. A Varnath patrol was ambushed and knocked unconscious with some kind of gas. When they woke up, they were in a human facility. The humans did not kill them. They experimented on them, cut them, studied how their regeneration worked. And because the captured warriors were still connected to the hive mind, every Varnath in the area felt every cut, every injection, every moment of torture. Zethrak had no choice. He did something no Varnath commander had done in 1,000 years. He broke the hive mind into smaller groups, isolated cells that could not share pain across long distances. It stopped the psychic screaming in his warriors' minds. It also destroyed their greatest advantage. Without the full hive mind, the Varnath fought like any other army. They were still stronger and faster than humans, but they could no longer predict and counter every move with perfect coordination. The humans exploited this immediately. Their ambushes became more effective. Their traps killed more warriors. But Zethrak noticed something else about human tactics. They were not trying to win battles. They were trying to buy time. Every human defense was designed the same way. Fight fiercely for a few hours, kill as many Varnath as possible, then retreat. The humans abandoned entire cities without hesitation. They destroyed their own infrastructure as they left. Bridges, power plants, factories, all demolished so the Varnath could not use them. "What are they waiting for?" Zethrak asked his intelligence officer. "Why do they trade space for time?" The answer came 3 days later, when they finally decoded human military communications. Earth was not the prize. Earth was the distraction. Humanity had 47 colonies scattered across their solar system and beyond. Mars, Europa, Titan, dozens of asteroid stations. And while the Varnath wasted time conquering Earth, those colonies were preparing for war. Every day the Varnath spent on Earth was another day for human factories to build weapons, another day to study captured Varnath biology, another day to fortify defenses. Zethrak felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. The humans had planned this from the beginning. They knew they could not defeat the Varnath in open battle. So they did not try. Instead, they turned Earth into a training ground. Every engagement taught them more about Varnath tactics, weaknesses, and biology. Every captured warrior gave them genetic samples to study. Every day of fighting gave their colonies time to prepare. The humans were not fighting to protect Earth. They were fighting to learn how to kill Varnath efficiently. Zethrak sent an urgent message to the Dominion Council. He explained the situation and requested permission to withdraw and regroup. The council's response was immediate and harsh. Withdrawal is not acceptable. The Varnath do not retreat. Finish the conquest of Earth, then eliminate the human colonies. We are sending 50,000 additional warriors. 50,000 warriors. The largest reinforcement in Dominion history for a single planet. The council was outraged that he even needed to ask. No species had ever required such numbers, but they sent them anyway, confident that superior force would end this embarrassment. The reinforcements arrived 2 weeks later. Zethrak now had 65,000 warriors on Earth, the largest invasion force ever assembled by the Dominion. With these numbers, victory was certain. Then something strange happened. Human resistance on Earth suddenly collapsed. Cities that had fought for weeks surrendered in days. Human soldiers stopped their ambushes. The guerrilla warfare ended. Within 72 hours, Earth was under complete Varnath control. It was too easy. Zethrak stood in the ruins of New York City, surrounded by his warriors. They had won. Earth belonged to the Dominion. But he felt no satisfaction, only suspicion. His intelligence officer approached with a report. Commander, we have intercepted human communications. The colonies are ready. They have completed their preparations. Zethrak understood then. The humans had never intended to hold Earth. They gave it up the moment they got what they needed, time and knowledge. The real war was about to begin. And for the first time in his life, Zethrak wondered if the Varnath were the hunters or the prey. Zethrak moved his fleet toward Titan Station, humanity's largest colony outside Earth. Intelligence reports said it was a massive industrial complex with thousands of workers and factories. It had minimal military defenses. Taking it would cripple human manufacturing and send a clear message. The Dominion controlled this system now. The fleet arrived at Titan 3 days later. The station hung in space above Saturn's largest moon, a giant structure of metal and glass. Scanners showed no warships defending it, no weapons platforms, nothing. Too easy, Zethrak muttered. But his orders were clear. The Dominion Council wanted the human colonies destroyed quickly. Begin boarding operations, he commanded. 5,000 Varnath warriors loaded into assault ships and launched toward the station. Zethrak watched from his command ship as they breached the hull and entered the facility. The reports came back immediately. The station is empty, Commander. No humans present. Only automated systems. Zethrak felt a cold sensation in his chest. Pull them back, now. But it was too late. The station came alive, weapons hidden in the walls, but these were not normal weapons. They used sound. Specific frequencies that the humans had designed after studying captured Varnath warriors. The sonic weapon shattered the hive mind connections, leaving each warrior isolated and confused. Then the biological weapons released gas that made the Varnath regeneration go wild. Warriors' bodies started healing when they were not injured. Their armor grew into their flesh. Their organs multiplied uncontrollably. The healing ability that made them nearly invincible had turned into a weapon against them. The screaming through the hive mind connection was unbearable. Zethrak severed the link to save the remaining warriors from experiencing the horror. 2,000 Varnath died in that station, not in battle. In a trap built from their own biology. Titan Station had been bait, and he had taken it. While Zethrak's fleet was committed to the Titan disaster, human ships attacked his supply lines. But these were not military vessels. They were converted cargo ships, mining vessels, passenger shuttles, anything that could fly. The humans had welded weapons onto civilian ships and filled them with volunteers. And they did not fight like a normal navy. The human ships did not try to win ship-to-ship battles. They rammed the Varnath vessels at full speed with their fusion reactors set to explode. One human ship would destroy itself to take out a Dominion cruiser. The humans were trading ships at a 20-to-1 ratio and celebrating it as victory. Zethrak could not understand this logic. No military force would accept such losses, but humans did not calculate war the way other species did. They measured success differently. If one human ship destroyed a Varnath cruiser, they won. The math was simple to them. Cruel, but simple. His supply lines collapsed within days. Ammunition, food, medical supplies, replacement parts. Everything the fleet needed was being destroyed by humans who turned themselves into missiles. Then the reports from Earth arrived, the reports that changed everything. The human resistance had never ended. Thousands of humans had stayed behind when the cities surrendered. They hid in the ruins, not to fight, to watch. For weeks, these hidden humans observed the Varnath. They studied how the warriors communicated, how they coordinated, how they moved. They identified patterns that the Varnath themselves did not know existed, and they found the Nexus commanders, special Varnath warriors who coordinated entire regions through enhanced hive mind connections. The humans had created detailed maps showing exactly where each Nexus commander was located. Then, at exactly the same moment, across 15 Earth cities, human suicide teams struck. They used everything they had learned. They knew which routes the Nexus commanders took, which buildings they used, which times they were most vulnerable. The attacks were perfectly coordinated, happening within seconds of each other across the entire planet. 15 Nexus commanders died in 15 simultaneous explosions. The Varnath ground forces on Earth collapsed instantly. Without the Nexus commanders, the hive mind network shattered into chaos. Warriors who had fought as one perfect organism suddenly became confused individuals. Some stood still, overwhelmed by the silence in their minds. Others attacked each other, unable to identify friend from foe without the network. Human resistance forces emerged from hiding and attacked the disoriented Varnath warriors. The species that had seemed weak and slow now hunted the Invincible warriors through the ruins of Earth's cities. Zethrak sat in his command chair, reviewing the reports with growing horror. He finally understood what he was fighting. Humans were not warriors in the way the Varnath were warriors. The Varnath were bred to be perfect soldiers, strong, fast, coordinated. They won through superior ability. Humans were something else entirely. They were persistence hunters, predators who did not need to be stronger or faster than their prey. They just needed to be more adaptable, more willing to sacrifice, more capable of learning from every failure. The Varnath evolved to overwhelm their enemies with power. Humans evolved to outlast anything that tried to kill them. And now, for the first time in 1,000 years of conquest, Zethrak considered the impossible: retreat. Zethrak sent his retreat request to the Dominion Council. He explained everything: the losses, the tactics, the impossibility of victory without sacrificing the entire Dominion military. He waited for approval, knowing his career was over, but hoping to save his warriors. The Council's response arrived 3 hours later. It was not what he expected. Retreat denied. The Varnath do not show weakness. We are sending the Grand Fleet. Humanity will be exterminated. Zethrak felt his blood turn cold. The Grand Fleet was the Dominion's ultimate weapon. 200,000 warriors, 500 warships, and the Stellar Purge, a weapon capable of igniting a planet's entire atmosphere. The Council was not just rejecting his retreat, they were committing to genocide. The message was clear: humanity would become an example. Any species that resisted the Dominion would face extinction. The Council could not allow even the appearance of defeat. 847 conquered worlds were watching. If the Varnath showed weakness now, rebellions would spread across the galaxy. The Grand Fleet arrived 2 weeks later. Zethrak watched from his ship as hundreds of vessels filled the space around Earth. The fleet commander, Supreme Warrior Krathvon, contacted him immediately. "Your failure ends today," Krathvon said. "We will burn their world and scatter their ashes across the void." Zethrak said nothing. He had tried to warn them. Now he could only watch. The Stellar Purge powered up. The weapon was ancient, built during the Dominion's first conquests. It had only been used twice before, both times against species that refused to surrender. Once activated, it would superheat Earth's atmosphere until the entire planet became a fireball. Nothing would survive. But humanity knew about the weapon. Their intelligence network had intercepted Dominion communications. They knew what was coming, and they had a plan. Every human ship in the solar system began moving toward Earth. Military vessels, cargo ships, mining craft, personal shuttles, everything that could fly. 10,000 ships. each one carrying volunteers who knew they were flying toward their death. "What are they doing?" Kraf Von demanded. "Do they think they can fight the Grand Fleet with cargo ships?" Zethrak understood immediately. They are not trying to fight the fleet. They are targeting the Purge. It was suicide. The Stellar Purge sat in the center of the Grand Fleet, protected by 40 capital ships and thousands of fighters. No attack could penetrate those defenses. But the humans were trying anyway. The battle was a massacre. Varnath fighters tore through the human ships like paper. Advanced targeting systems destroyed hundreds of vessels in the first minutes. The humans had no chance. But they kept coming. Wave after wave of human ships threw themselves at the Varnath defenses. They were not trying to be clever or tactical. They were simply overwhelming the defenses through sheer numbers and absolute disregard for their own survival. 9,000 human ships died in that battle. The Varnath killed them effortlessly. But 9,000 was not 10,000. 3 ships made it through the defensive screen. 2 were destroyed within sight of the Purge. The third ship, a small mining vessel piloted by a woman named Elena Kowalski, accelerated to maximum speed. The Varnath shot at it, damaged its engines, tore holes in its hull, but momentum carried it forward. Elena aimed the ship directly at the Purge's reactor core and activated her fusion drive's overload sequence. The explosion was visible from Earth. The Stellar Purge detonated, taking 40 Dominion capital ships with it. Thousands of Varnath warriors died in an instant. Through the hive-mind connection, every surviving Varnath felt those deaths, felt the fear, the pain, the realization that their invincibility was a lie. Something broke in the Varnath collective consciousness. Not their bodies, not their ships. Something deeper. For 1,000 years, they had won through superior force. They never needed to understand sacrifice, desperation, or the strange human logic that made one life worth trading for thousands, if it meant protecting billions. Kraf Von stared at the debris field where the Purge had been. His voice, when he spoke, was quiet. "What are these creatures?" "Survivors," Zethrak answered. "They do not fight wars to win. They fight to make victory cost more than it is worth." For the first time in Dominion history, 2 Varnath commanders agreed on the same impossible decision. They ordered a full retreat. The Dominion Council exploded with rage. They demanded executions. They called both commanders cowards, but the other fleet commanders supported the retreat. They had seen the casualty reports. They understood the mathematics. Conquering humanity would require committing 90% of the Dominion's military to a single solar system. The 847 subjugated worlds would rebel. The Dominion would collapse. Humanity had not won on the battlefield. They had won by making their defeat too expensive to achieve. The galaxy watched as the Invincible Varnath withdrew from human space. News spread across every world. The Dominion could be beaten. Humanity did not celebrate. They were too busy counting their dead. 3.7 billion people had died in the war, but they had survived, and they had taught the galaxy a lesson. Within a decade, 17 conquered worlds rebelled against the Dominion. Within a century, the empire fractured and fell. And in the historical records of 1,000 species, one sentence appeared again and again. They were considered invincible until they faced humans.